Welcome to the Black Box App Podcast. I'm your host, Kenneth L. Johnson, president of the diversity recruitment firm East Coast Executives and developer and founder at blackbox.tech. Blackbox, it's a career consciousness portal to support Black men, and we like to amplify the voices of Black men. So that's why today I'm excited to have Andrew Hamilton on with us. Now, let me just preface this. This is the man that took me to NASDAQ. I had never been in the building. Andrew was president of the New York Black MBAs, did an event at NASDAQ, reached out like, Ken, come on through, had a great time, an excellent event, but you had me in Times Square at NASDAQ. How's everything going? Let's talk about what you're up to now and all of that good stuff, and then we'll just get into the conversation.
Things have been going well. I'm glad you were able to attend my events. Wink, wink to all that when I send an invite out, you respond. It's been a fantastic journey. So now I've just completed my nonprofit executive management at the Institute for Nonprofit recently. I'll graduate next week, and I'm looking forward to add more value to the community and keep things rolling. So
you know what? Let's start right there. Let's talk about that, adding value to the community. So anytime I see someone that takes on the commitment to be the president of an organization that supports the advancement in careers and educational pursuits of Black individuals, I always kind of take a peek in and do a deeper dive. So tell me about where that came from. Where did this community narrative come from?
I came out of the household. I had some fantastic parents, and I had a village around me that really showed the value of giving back and pouring back in. And when certain opportunities came my way for me to able to do that personally, I jumped on it. It's been rewarding. I learned a lot as far as community development and community stewardship. So I'm looking to mentor the next generation behind me, but also for me to get better, become a better student at the game, so I can definitely become a better advocate for our community going forward.
You know what? You're talking about being a student of the game, and I'm just kind of thinking about what you started this conversation with. And you're a gentleman who's navigated your educational pursuits and got to a great career level, but still, you started out saying, hey, I'll be graduating from the nonprofit, et cetera, et cetera. Like, tell me what that's all about. What is it that makes you continue to seek that knowledge and professional development?
Because I preach about it all the time. Like anything else, you practice what you preach, and I always feel like I always gonna get better. And getting better is doing. I like to do like small development steps, not huge development steps where you take a break from life. I mean, kudos to people that do that, but I'm a big advocate if I can read a book, read a journal, create something or work on something that I can get better personally, professionally. I'm all for it. So that's one of the few reasons that I jumped in is to the nonprofit and pursuing that certification.
Well, I can appreciate that because, on the Black Box App podcast, that's what this kind of is all about. People always ask, well, what's your demographic? And I'm like, it's Black men. I don't care if you're entry level in your career, if you're still in school, or if you're mid or senior level. Like, we're here to support and provide resources and to amplify voices. So I can appreciate what you're sharing. So do me a favor. Let's share a little more. Kind of walk me through the Andrew Hamilton career journey. Where'd you go to school? Where was your first job? Let's take us up to here.
So I'll work backwards. I received my master's from Long Island University, Brooklyn campus. Shout out to the Blackbirds, and now I know the Sharks now. LIU. Started my undergraduate journey in Hampton University, and I finished here in Brooklyn. But Hampton, like going to the HBCU, was a great learning experience for me, because it showed me Black excellence in another level, another light, and I was able to absorb that, and now as a man, I'm able to project that out and radiate that out to others. Started my career at a company called Emeritus International. It was a 3PL based in I was based in Long Island, and then from when I was there, I received my master's, But at the same time, though, I got to know and I came involved within the Black MBAs during my time there. So it was a critical time for me where I was able to pick and hang on to a village like National Black MBA Association, still pursue my master's, still deliver at work. But it was a great time for me to grow and develop as a person, as a professional. And I learned a lot about myself, about leadership, but also learned about the ability of being to observe, absorb, and then at times regurgitate that out when needed. So it was a great time for me. And now I'm at Stryker Orthopedics, and ironically, today's my 15th year anniversary at Stryker. So I've been there 15 years. Great company, good people. So just adding value to that environment, but also taking what I learned from there and adding value into National Black MBAs and other organizations that I'm part of as well. So.
And kudos on the 15-year anniversary. We're going to celebrate that today for sure. All right, so let's speak about you're working and you're involved with the Black MBAs and you're kind of finding your way through the organization. Tell me about the opportunities that existed within that. Did you find mentors in that space?
Ironically, I found, and that's a good question, I did find mentors, but not traditional mentors that we know of. I found people that I could shadow. They didn't mentor me, but what I was able to do, I was able to observe what they did in different settings and different environments, and I learned a lot from that. And that's why I would say the power of observation, because sometimes sitting still and watching is the best classroom, the best teacher. And from there, I learned the value of us, especially Black men, how to treat and love Black men, but also how to promote Black men in different arenas and different environments. And I was able, and that taught a lot. That taught me a lot, but also is able to change my communication to a younger generation. I was able to resonate with them a little bit more clearly with them, because now I understand where they're coming from and where they need to go. And I would make sure I was an advocate of where they need to go as far as being success is concerned. So,
man, I it's interesting you speaking about kind of the mentorship journey, right? It doesn't always have to be somebody with their hand on your shoulder.
yeah,
You can observe people and watch how they move, and you can read books, and there's so many other ways to receive mentorship. When people speak about individuals not having mentors, I'm like, yeah, okay, I understand the physical mentor and the importance of that, but there's so many other ways to receive information, guidance, and support.
yeah,
And I want people to be very clear that mentorship is something that you can seek after, but it's not, people aren't required to provide it. However, you are provided to find it. So
right,
it's always good to kind of go out and find that. So let's talk about this. So, that's the mentorship piece. But I would imagine for you to become president of an organization like the New York Black MBAs, there had to be some sponsorship following you around, right? People that were saying, hey, you got to keep an eye out on Andrew Hamilton. He's an up and comer. Talk to me about that and kind of where that came from and how that process helped you.
And that's a good question to lead into. I had some great sponsors. I had people that that knew of my name, and that's one of the biggest things I tell a lot of young people: always protect your name, protect your last name. Is a gift that's earned, and what I was able to do consistently is treat people with a certain value, and that value proposition turned into sponsors saying my name, seeing the work I'm doing, but also it gave me a chance. A lot of times we don't get chances. It allowed me to give me a chance for me to be great. And that sponsorship was a real big deal, because a lot of times you're not in that room, you're not in that phone call, you're not in an email thread, but just by knowing me and what I've done before, or how my personal interactions with them, they say he could do it. So that gave me a chance, and always say the people always give people a chance so they can make choices for them to be great or good. That is so.
Now, is that your management style as well?
Yeah. It is. It is, because I think leadership leadership is trusting yourself and projecting it out. And you could tell that a lot of people don't have a good trust of themselves, how they treat people, and how to expect people to perform. And trust is a very, and it's a simple word, but it also is a word of really of exercise of personal resilience. So doing that, yeah.
Let's talk about that a little. So trust and not trusting yourself. So it kind of drifts into imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Not believing that you're capable of being great, like you were speaking about, right? Or even just doing the job. So for some of our listeners that may struggle with imposter syndrome, because it's a real thing, especially in our communities, and I'm understanding kind of where you're operating at within your organization. Like a lot of times there aren't a ton of Black men there to kind of take a look at and say, all right, you know what, he's doing it, I can do it. How do you, what type of advice do you give to people that are maybe battling imposter syndrome a little?
I laugh, but my grandmother used to say when I was younger, like when you wake up in the morning, look yourself in the mirror, say, I love myself. Start with yourself, right? And once you build that muscle, say, I love myself, the imposter syndrome is going to go away, because you're gonna bring your authentic self everywhere you go, you know. And that sometimes it's challenging as Black men, because the projection of what Black men should be and what they should be seen in public and the way they see it on TV is misleading. We're all human. We have different characters. We have different. You're not here to be the run-of-the-mill person. You're unique. You're here for a reason. Yes. So the first thing I always tell people when they wake up in the morning, look yourself in the mirror and say, I love myself. Start there, right? If you have a challenge answering that question, that's a second tier that a conversation you need to have. But you always say to myself, I love myself every morning. Those mirror conversations are authentic and they're real. They're not fake, because once you look yourself in the eye and say that, I think the day is yours after that.
Nice. Yeah. And you need that self-reassurance to kind of go and just operate. Life can be tough in general. Yeah. When people are working in corporate America, just the responsibilities of meeting those goals, granted, they pay you to do that, right? But it doesn't stand alone. Like, you have to have some faith, and you have to have some resilience, and you have to believe in yourself. So I love that. Tell your grandmother's a smart woman, apparently. She's giving out great advice, but that's what they do, right? That's what they do for their core. Yeah. So, all right. So we're looking at younger people kind of transitioning into different career phases, and then they get to middle management, hopefully. And at middle management, that's the time when you're kind of foundationally really building your career and your presence. Like, who are you? What is it that you want to do? When was it for you that you figured out, you know what, this is the lane, I like this? Like, I know you do some sustainability and some supplier diversity stuff, and you're involved in helping people kind of move the needle. So what was it for you when you said, oh yeah, this is it, I'm at the right place and I'm doing good work?
It was a sense of always learning. I'll go back to the original statement in the beginning. I was always constantly learning. So I was always learning something new. I felt like it's the right place. I felt that, you know, innovation breathes life into you. And bring I don't use the adage, oh, I'm looking for a challenge. I mean, you look for a challenge anyway. Life is a challenge itself. But if I'm able to, like, create things in my mind, create new ideas in my mind, always developing something, then I felt this is a good sweet spot. And also, you know, don't be scared to take risks. You know, it doesn't necessarily, risk doesn't have to be career driven. Risk could be personally driven, where you're able to, like, add something to yourself that you say 1 year later, I never did that before. You know, so.
You know, I find that people, when I hear people say, hey, you know, take risk, you know, don't be risk averse.
Yeah.
And I know it scares people. It's something that scares people. They get nervous about it, and they get anxiety around risk, because oftentimes I think people believe, like, all right, if it doesn't work, that's the end, right? But the bounce back is always available to each and every one of us. You can take
Yeah.
a risk and it might not work out, but then what did you learn from the risk? And how do you move forward, maybe with that information and adjusting kind of how you move? So, and when you look back on your career, what was the risk that you took that really paid off? And then if there's a risk that you took and you said, wow, I fell on my face on that one, but I learned this. Can you talk to us about both scenarios or just one of those scenarios?
Um, I took a few risks during my career, and it was interesting as I think about it. It wasn't a risk; it was just me taking a chance.
Okay.
And I just reduced a little bit, but the risks that didn't work out, I learned a lot about myself in the power of resilience.
Mm.
And what that taught me is that there's no punitive damage. Every time a risk in our community, oh, something really bad is going to happen. You're going to die, or you're going to go to the hospital. But I view the risk as an opportunity to learn. I said, hey, I did not know that. It could be something it could be something in my pitching to a boss or pitching to somebody senior, and maybe my delivery wasn't correct, or I took a step back, saying, you know what, maybe he or she wasn't ready for the idea that I was proposed. Because sometimes every idea you propose, it may not be the right time, but it's a good time for you to try the idea. That's always say to people. It's always a good time to try something. Always try. You never know. Something may land or hit.
Man, that's the point of this. That's the point of the conversation. You just hit the high point. Maybe people aren't ready for the solution that you're proposing, right?
Right.
And that doesn't mean it's wrong. That doesn't mean it's a bad idea. That just means they weren't ready for it. So sometimes you kind of have to just shake it off.
Yeah, yeah. And also reversing that, when someone comes to you with something like that, it helps you listen more, right? It helps. A lot of times we have conversations, we just sit there and you know what, I can't tell you what he or she just said. But understanding what you roles in reverse, you now become a better listener. And that helped me a lot. That helped me become a better learner. And that's why those small things help me become a better professional. And now I'm able to pick up on the subtle aspects of things versus the over the top ideas or pitches people give to you all the time.
It's really interesting the work we do here at East Coast Executives as a recruitment firm. Oftentimes when I'll reach out, so here's the cycle, right?
Yeah.
The company comes to us and they say, hey, we're looking for you to fill XYZ position. Can you partner with us on that? And then I start reaching out to people and I'm like, hey, Andrew, I got this great opportunity with XYZ company. I'm looking at your background. I think you'd be a great fit. So then people start to tell me about how great they are, right? And I already know this. I just want you to listen so I can tell you about the job. And I think, to your point, sometimes the listening piece is hard for people because we're taught to kind of show our medals, right? Hey, look, I did this. It's almost how social media is now. Like everybody's showing the highlight reel.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I think that the self-promotion is great, branding is great, but branding with intent is more important than branding just to have an influence. You have to be intentional with what you're doing, and you hit the nail on the head about the self-promotion, which is great, but sometimes the idea need to be solved versus you becoming the idea itself. So
Love it. Love it.
yeah.
So branding with intent, when you look at kind of what you've accomplished to this point and you start thinking about the Andrew Hamilton brand, how would you describe that to somebody? I'm sitting here with my idea on it, man. Like I had mentioned to you in the past, at every step of the way, man. And you've always, sent a message of support. You've invited me to things. You put me on an NFL think tank conversation that you guys did. Like you sent the information to me. I got on that. I'm like, this guy really is a person that supports and looks out for people. But how do you view your own personal brand?
Interesting. And I during the pandemic, came with 3 words that resonate with me in my career. Educate, empower, and engage.
Love it.
So like I'm here to educate, I'm here to empower, but at the same time, I'm here to engage. I'm a verb. I told people one day, I'm a verb person. I don't describe. I'm not a noun, not an adjective. I'm a verb. So I'm an actionable person. So a person that does action understands the concept of momentum. People understand momentum, understand the power of engagement. So I'm always trying to engage, not trying. I am engaging, and therefore hoping you to empower you so you can educate the next generation behind you. So I'm always doing that, educating, empowering, and engaging.
I love it, man. I see you out here doing it. So you're speaking your truth. Trust me.
Yeah.
There was a gentleman, I can't remember his name right now, but he's a coach. And I'll probably share it with the audience once it comes to me. But so he had mentioned, I was watching some of his videos on YouTube, and he said he starts the whole purpose of his business every day is to have conversations with interesting people. And then he builds opportunities from that. So he engages, he listens,
Right.
and then he processes that information to think of ways that they can partner and be synergistic together for group goal, right? And I just thought it was so interesting because he really maps out his business to that. He's like, I just spend the day speaking to great people, and then the ideas start flowing, and we figure out a way to make things happen. And so your 3 points, just the engaging and empowering, like I see that is kind of symbolistic of that approach, right? I'm going to engage you, and then let's just get into conversation and kind of see how we can empower one another.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, it's been amazing. Listen, I know you got some stuff going on right now. Is there anything in the upcoming months that we should look for from the Andrew Hamilton camp?
Okay. So we have our women's conference coming up in July, and then we have the men's conference in October. Both will be in New York City. So more information about that if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn. And then we have like smaller events, meet and greet, networking. But really, after I receive this after I graduate next week, I'm take a break, and then really hit it hard in the fall. And just simple actions that get us more to get this community more involved and engaged. And there's a lot going on in the world, so I just want to make sure to send grace out to people and making sure they're all right. And I think that's what my main focus is going to be in the fall is create another program where men of color can come and be celebrated, and more importantly, engage, educate, and empower them to be great going forward. So more to come on that.
Man, I know that you stand on that agenda, so I know it's coming from a good space. I want to thank you for joining us today on the Black Box App podcast. It's Andrew Hamilton. He mentioned that he's on LinkedIn, but if people just want to stay abreast of the things that you're doing, the work that you're doing, any of the platforms, website, anything that they need to keep an eye out on?
You can look out more stuff with a www.nyblackmba.org. There's also an organization I just started called Board Executives. Is really focusing on placing diverse talent on corporate boards. A lot of these boards have been the same for a millennia, and I'm looking to disrupt that theory that people of color, especially men of color, cannot lead and they cannot develop and move corporate America ahead. So look more to come on that. So BD Executives and NewYorkBlackMBA.org. You can find me in those, and I'm always available on LinkedIn. I check that frequently. So I look forward to engaging you. So I'm overusing the word, but I'm a big over communicator. So I'm not saying it lightly to anyone. So thank you.
That works for me. Look, I appreciate you stopping by the Black Box App podcast. I want to hear more about this new organization to support diverse individuals getting on boards, especially Black men. Maybe we'll grab lunch in the city one day and just sit and chop it up. You got to come up to Harlem and check me out, man.
I will always.
Let's do it. It's Andrew Hamilton on the Black Box App podcast. I'm Kenneth L. Johnson. Thank you so very much. The Black Box App podcast, comes to you on our YouTube channel, but also on Frontliners TV. We love and appreciate you all. Thank you for the support. Kenneth Johnson, Andrew Hamilton. It's the Black Box App Podcast.